Hello there, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Doing a Couch. I'm your host, Hector. And today we're here with the Walking Bombs, they, them, and I have Morgan Evans here with me. So, Morgan, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today. I really love what you do, and it's awesome to get to gab.
Nice. Yeah, thank you for the compliment. So, yeah, I like to interview bands and like have like a nice chat and discussion. So, yeah, you were saying to me offline that you just moved from to California, right?
I did. I've lived in New York my whole life. I lived in New York City for a while, but mostly I grew up in upstate New York, in the Woodstock, Kingston area music scene, which has changed a lot, ebb and flow, a lot of different things over the years. A lot of hardcore too in Poughkeepsie or Albany area, and but I just moved out to California, so I'm still have suitcases full of stuff kind of like everywhere. And I just have had my little Nissan and my cat, and we just made it all the way across the country. I'd been to Texas and back, but I'd never made it all the way across before other than like on a bus. So that was a lot. It was fun though.
How long did it take you?
It took about a week because my cat, she's a rescue cat. She is with special needs. When I got her, she was in a shelter for years. Nobody adopted her. She was very overweight and had like no fur on her neck from rubbing on a thing and on the cage. And so one thing I learned is I was looking around online because I care about animals, and it said, try to do 6 or 7 hours. I got pet CBD and melatonin and some other things for her. And I would drive. I mean, if it was me, I'm used to driving. Oh, let's go to Tennessee, you know. But this, I tried to do it reasonably, and I had to go a little slower as a result. So it took about a week instead of however. But in a way, it was nice too because each day I didn't totally burn myself out either.
Nice. I got used to driving when I moved here in Florida and drove because
You're in Florida?
originally from yeah, I'm originally from Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico, like you do go around 3 hours and you at least the coast of the island. So to me, driving to Orlando used to like it's almost 4 hours to me. That was like a long drive. Now it doesn't seem that long. Now that I've done that trek before,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I did move here with two dogs on an airplane, and yeah, that's
Oh
not
man.
fun. I had a basset hound, and he like I was afraid that because he had to go in the bottom of the plane that something was gonna happen to him, but no, I had to give him like I think it was melatonin or something else to calm him down, and then the
Yeah.
other one was a small dog, and I had like on the top of the plane with me. But yeah, it is stressful, especially when you're moving from uh, an island to another country. And now go figure. Now I'm gonna move back to Puerto Rico again.
Oh, are you going?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
moving back to Puerto Rico. Yeah, it's
I just moved I just moved in with Globelamp, this psych folk musician. I mean, we lived together in New York, but she moved back here to California where she's from. But she just found out she was Puerto Rican within the last few years of doing the ancestry, because she was trying to find that out for a long
nice.
time. And so it's been really amazing seeing her learn more about it. And I never knew, it makes me sound ignorant, but I never knew about the crazy trench that the island is right near, which is when you see the scan of it from the ocean, it's like, oh my God, it's on top of
Oh
like it's
yeah,
like that's wild,
like that
man.
whole area is in a trench, and that's why a few years ago in Puerto Rico there was some earthquakes in the south of the island because of that. But yeah, yeah, no, the island's still there, and it's a beautiful place to visit. And I'm going back there. I've been here in Miami 5 years, and I can tell you, Miami is overrated. Like,
It's unfortunately it's all about money, man. I mean, you can have fun wherever you are, really, but sometimes I mean, I would rather be go to Puerto Rico personally. I've never been there, but I've been to Florida.
yeah, the only bad thing is sometimes with the electricity there is not as stable. But if you get like a good plant, and a lot of people are switching to solar energy down there, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great thing. So yeah, if you get to visit Puerto Rico sometime, yeah, it's a great place to visit. Nice people, great food. So, but we're not here to talk about California or Puerto Rico. We're here to talk about the EP that you released digitally on November 4th for the Walking Bombs. And I was listening to it, and something that's great about that EP is that every song is different.
Thank
Like,
you.
yeah, you can't pigeonhole your like uh because it says like it's an alternative punk, but there was like some like bluegrass on some of the songs, and some of the songs felt like more electronic. So there's like different types of music in that EP of 28 minutes. So when you were doing this project, The Walking Bombs, how did you approach it in sound? Like what did you want the band to sound like?
Well, I started singing in bands in 1993. So next year will actually be the 30 years uh, of, whatever degree of success I've had. But it's all my journey. And so I've been wanting to celebrate. And so I've been planning to put out two records for next year. And this record, Broken Provinces, was I made with Chris, my friend Chris, who plays in Mercury Rev now, the psych band. And when I started, I'd been in a lot of different bands that kind of turned into failing democracies after a while. People have kids or they get too busy with other things or are one foot in, one foot out. And I was like, I was tired of, as a lyricist, because I was always a front for a very long time. Played trombone, but mostly in high school. Then I stopped playing for a really long time. I kind of farted around on the bass, but I played in a Misfits tribute band, which was really fun for a while. But I always wanted to step out of my comfort zone, and I would kind of do it on the side and write little folk songs and things like that. And then it kind of eventually ballooned because when I stopped being in traditional bands because they were breaking up, I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't have a live band. But then I thought, oh well, look at Dark Throne. Dark Throne, they never really play shows, but they're buddies and they just make records. So I thought maybe I should just, well, here's an example. Like some of my friends' bands in the Woodstock scene where I started out, some of them stayed together a long time. Like my friend Joe Yeppert, he was in a band called Three, and they stayed together a really long time. In prog rock, they used to be on Metal Blade, but he's still doing his thing, and so people could see the development of the artist. Okay, or a band called Pitchfork Militia that my Peter, which people check out if they never heard. They're very like a pockabilly. They call themselves like a punk. Really funny, awesome stuff, And for me, it was like,
Yeah.
man, early '90s. You do shows and you'd have a psychedelic band like this band Spin Cyclolava. They would breathe fire and be all painted up and play trippy stuff. So I always loved a lot of different kinds of music. And so for Walking Bombs, since I love like Faith No More and things like that, I wanted to challenge myself as a singer. So I try to do as many different styles as possible. Not in a pretentious way, but because I also just have a lot of interests, very hard, restless, especially if you're like, oh, I might only get to put out this one record for who knows how long because of money. So I better not have every song be exactly the same. And sometimes it's easier to do that when you don't have a band because when you're in a band, you have one guy, I want to play and sound like Korn, or I want to sound like this death metal or whatever, it's like very rigid. But the Walking Bombs, the Broken Provinces EP, Chris and we actually wrote that around 2014, and then it was lost for a lot of years. So his hard drive crashed, and so we thought it was gone
Oh wow.
forever. And then on my sister Cambria's birthday this year, I found the only remaining copy on CD.
Wow, that's amazing that you could find it and save that music.
So um, I can't even tell because as you've heard it, you can tell whether people like it or not. You can tell I worked hard on it. And we that was the thing. Like if I hate losing songs, it's like oh my baby, this song. It's when a band would break up. What I was saying before, if you lose all the lyrics or something, and those songs, or you wrote, let's say you wrote 12 songs with a band or 30 songs, and some of them never come out, you could always put it to new music, but sometimes it's hard to get it from where your head was for it originally, and it's like it's harder as a singer, I guess, than not guitar riffs, of course, matter too, especially now that I play them more. But it's like you don't want to start over from scratch, so you never want to lose material. I mean, you don't want to treat everything like it's the greatest song on earth, but you want to give it a chance to breathe and maybe come into a life of its own, you know?
So it's
Um,
good that you got to find found that one CD that you had from it.
can't
So
even in a stack of other crap, who knows what, you know.
nice. So did you re-record them or did you
So my
use
friend
the
Ash, he cleaned up the No, my buddy Ash, who I've been making the two newer ones that are coming out next year. He engineered, and he has a studio, and he cleaned them up because they were mostly red. They were mostly good. It just needed a little EQing because Chris Heitzman had already done a really good job recording them. There were just some volume issues and a little bit of dead air, like hiss and stuff at the end. So we had to do a little bit of tweaking. And I was like, oh man, I hope this works. But either way, my whole aesthetic with Walking Bombs, some stuff is lo-fi, some is hi-fi. I was really influenced growing up by bands like Sebado or like Smashing Pumpkins, where they would never stop writing songs almost to the detriment where there's too much material, I can't stop writing. But then you'd have some songs that were like a better quality recording than others. And I kind of like bands that like Softkill is another band that they often put their demos
oh,
online. You know?
have one of their albums. They're awesome.
Yeah, and I love when bands kind of show a little bit of that process. So some songs of mine sound better than others, but I always try to now I'm trying to make them all a little more consistent. You
So
know,
the new music that you're working on is it's two EPs, two
it's
other
actually
EPs,
two full
two
lengths
full
coming out
lengths.
next year. Yeah.
Wow. And
It's
do
like 23
they,
so 23 songs.
so are you gonna like divide them like two, like one half and the other half? And what can we expect from this new material that you're gonna put out next year?
Well, the first one I'm trying to do in March because that is the actual 30th anniversary of my first band, Melancholy, which was my Woodstock band that I was asked into in 1993. It was like a grunge band. We were little kids listening to Nirvana and my
Yeah, all
stuff.
those bands from the early
And
90s.
yeah, and I have a Rocky tag. Actually, I wear it for the drummer because that's his favorite team, and he passed away. But he loved Green Day too. That's his other favorite. But so I'm taking one of those songs and doing an acoustic version of a really old song, and then there's some metal, there's some noise music, there's a lot of variety on those too. Over as you can imagine, between 23 songs. But we're splitting it into two albums. Yeah, first one in March.
Nice. And I get you plan to be more of like putting out albums, but not doing like live shows, correct? Like you were saying at the beginning.
Well, my live shows always depend on who I can kind of pull in and get involved.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not super rich, so I don't. You do what you can. A lot of people do. They want to be part of their own project. For this, basically, what I meant to say before is that I realized I started getting more material out there because what I would do is I'd say, "Oh, here's my friend in this band or that band," and I kind of come up with a recipe in my head. What if this player played with these guys? Or I have a song idea and I ask my friend, like Justin, my friend who drums for the stoner band Shadow Witch, I'd say, Justin, come here and please play on these, and he'd agree. And but I can introduce him to some other musicians that maybe he hadn't worked with before, and then you get this one or two songs that is like that moment in time, and then it's almost like making a little compilation. I always loved putting band compilations together back in the day, in the underground. And
Yeah,
so this was like
that's I
that.
remember the tapes.
Yeah, and I do that with whole albums now, basically. But that's what Walking Bombs is it's really kind of a collective collaboration, even though it's my solo project. So songs are either all me trying to expand my musicality, or it's me and a variety of friends. So the next album I have Taraka Larson again, Prince Rama, and her own solo stuff. Peter Aaron from Chrome Cranks, Grid Failure, the noise artist Dave, and Bobby from this metal band Alan. A lot of really just fun people and Globe Lamp, and I'm just really excited to have people hear what we've been working on for Match.
Nice. Sounds like a fun time. So let me show the picture of the EP. So here we have the picture of the Walking Bombs EP, Broken Provinces. So is that you in that picture or
No,
someone you know?
I actually think it's my dad. I'm not sure, but I found it in a big box of old family pictures, and there's not that many pictures of my dad as a kid. And like I was like, look at those, those are crazy. But I just thought that was cool, and it kind of reminded me of I'm a big fan of like Today's the Day and bands that sort of use or bands that kind of or punk bands that sort of use it's this kind of sad feeling that you get. It has the patriotic flag in it, obviously, but also has this sort of feeling of discontent, you know. And that to me was kind of the Broken Provinces. The whole thing of it is kind of like society is a broken mirror, and we're unable to reflect on it. And people choose escapism or become workaholics, or they fall into hatred or blaming everyone. And you don't know up and down. And that was some of the themes that Chris and I were working with at the time. And even 10 years later, a lot of the themes have become more relevant, which is crazy because go back and listen to the lyrics or some of the folk things, and it fits more now than when we wrote it, which
Yeah,
is
that's
crazy,
crazy.
you know. And but what you were saying too about the folk stuff before, when Chris and I wrote it, he was really you know, we were really listening to or talking about there was a lot of bands that were coming out at that time, like Titus Andronicus or Monsters and Men, or a lot of those folky bands were like, "Hey," in every song, you know, because. But then we said, well, how can we do something like that, but make it more, you know, like Against Me or the bands that are more political or talking about something. And so some are a little more straightforward, and then other ones would be kind of like a story. Then there's this kind of weird Alice in Wonderland theme running through it too. That sort of means it's kind of discussing the American dream and how it plays out in people's head, like the warp and pardon me, I don't know if I can curse. The warped the way they end up living their life, you know.
Nice. So out of the 7 songs on that EP, which is the one that you gravitate to the most and still after all these years, like you're like, yeah, that's my favorite one from this EP.
Man, you know, I was listening to it driving, and it was interesting because like there's a song called Harm Reduction in the Holy Grail, which is sort of how do you do less harm and still carry yourself through the world. And that one's like a blues rock song, heavy, kind of thumpy, almost reminds me of the Chili Peppers in places. And I was driving. Some songs are very influenced by like, or like environment can make a song so much better. Like when I was driving across country, I was playing that in Arizona, and there's a big cliffs next to me, and it was all dry, and I was like, and I was like, this song is perfect for here, you know. But one of the ones that was really fun was the one that you had sort of talked about, Famine and Fame. I think is the one that has the most folky sounding one because I don't usually play that kind of music, you know. And that was fun to hear how it still I think kind of worked and had and just hear Chris's contributions because unlike some of the other Walking Bomb stuff, you know, we this was originally planned for a project called Black and White Universe, and it was going to be our second record, but it came out so much differently, and then so much time passed that I just that Chris, he was so busy with Mercury Rev too. I said, hey, let me just use this as a Walking Bombs thing since most of the I found it again, and most of the records are all just from people anyway. He said, sure, you can use it for that, you know, just credit me. And so, um, but it was fun because this one he plays all the instruments on, and I'm just singing. Whereas some of the other bomb stuff, I do more instruments too, along with other this was it was fun to go back and hear all of the different layers that he did because he's just a genius player and multi instrumentalist and that gave me a lot of confidence too to see. I think I learned a lot from him in the studio, just seeing his confidence to throw myself into things that I and get better at. That's like the scariest part of not having a you know when you grow up being a front person, you have a wall of sound behind you. All you have to do is you know go kind of strut and that it's like a safety blanket. After a while, become used to it. But when you're alone with a little guitar or something, or you have to write a piano part, you're like, I'm nude in the forest and everyone can see me, you know? It's like,
Yeah, you become more vulnerable because you're like maybe more exposed.
definitely. So, you know, but that's kind of the thrill too, is, yeah, jumping onto that roller coaster a little bit, you know?
Nice. So yeah, the EP, is great because it has like different things because like House Heart and We Live in This Communication, they're more like more electronic danceable a little bit, especially We Live in This Communication. Like you could dance to it. I felt like some Depeche Mode vibes to it
I'm
on
glad
that
you
one.
like that one. Or I hope you like it. I only have one other song, I think that was that dancey on my what the heck? It was on the Sphingy Siblings Cells and Queens album, which was my third record. And that was there was a techno song on that, but this one was definitely dancier and I love Depeche Mode.
So yeah, keep that song, the dance elements to it. Yeah, I found what interesting. And you know what I think? Sometimes people like in rock and in metal, they're afraid of the word dance.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like I don't like to pigeonhole this project as only one thing, and I'll be 45 next year, and after a while, you sort of care, and you guys can all dress up as only this thing, and but I'm trying to be a musician, and I want to try different things. I mean, I also understand some people don't. I think if it comes from integrity, you can have a poppy song and write it from a place of you're not necessarily doing it from this empty commercial place. It's like it could be like I feel like the bridge of that song it picks up it and it's like my desire is and it goes into this it lifts it's a big lift in the middle of that song and I'm proud of that part because it feels very emotional to me. But it's interesting because that song is also kind of examining how people want a release so bad from their day-to-day lives that they want to create this communication just through movement or something to me that is kind of similar to punk, and uh even though sometimes people are just going out to dance and hook up or whatever that's whatever. But I thought each song on here is kind of like almost like a trip to the psychologist's office too, because it's not necessarily literal. You might be singing from a character point of view, or just kind of exploring, and that was it's all kind of fragments of the overall picture, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. But sometimes people just go to dance without hooking up. Out
I
of
know that absolutely. I'm just making a joke.
they're like, no, we
Yeah,
just want to dance. I
yeah,
wouldn't know right now, like what the culture is right now. I'm 45 myself, so yeah, it's
you
different.
made it.
So yeah, well, yeah, like now let's get to 50 and more.
Yeah, right. Everything.
But yeah,
um,
right now, I think music, like I think once you get older, I don't know why, like I accept different types of music more now that when I was like younger, maybe not younger. When I was in high school, I listened to a lot of different things. But I don't know, sometimes when like in the back in the 2000s, when I was like in my 20s, I turned into a complete dick. A, a music
it
dick,
happens to
like
all of
like
us.
like oh, if isn't like metal or the hardest thing, I don't want it. But back in the 90s, I loved everything. But I think I went back to that. And today, the music that I listen to more is those bands that I grew up in the 90s. I'm sorry, I like metal bands, but I prefer listening to Smashing Pumpkins, like the bands
Big
that I grew
melodic
up with.
stuff.
Yeah,
Funny,
yeah. The
man,
only
because
band that I'm obsessed with is with Deftones.
that you are.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with them. Like
That's cool, man.
like
Um, yeah, they're a great band. I I was put a little bit of Deftones influence on a song called "Restorative Justice League" on my last album, "Tears We Should Have Shed," and I've always loved those big melodic guitars. I remember one of my old bands were playing many years ago in Tinker Street Cafe, which was this little Woodstock cafe where Bob Dylan played there, and they used to have this crazy old hippie shows and reggae and all kinds of stuff. But I remember going outside the first time
yeah,
I heard
it sounds
it was
like
so
a
cool.
Mhm.
It was so cool to see how much energy they put into their performance, that biofeedback. It's and biofeedback to me is very important to me, whether it's an interview like this where you can see the person and kind of vibe off each other, or that crowd, or even my mother was just sick, and then being able to go see her in the hospital after a year or two of not being able to, just the year, it means so much to have that just energy share with people, and people crave that, and that is one thing that makes me want to play live, because it's
Oh
different.
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
compile things so people can see my body of work, but I live music is where.
yeah. Because yeah, there's people that don't like music that much. They say it's like, oh, why don't you just listen to the album? It's not the same when you watch a band live, especially if they play good, than listening to, it's awesome listening to the music. But when it's live, I don't know, it's the energy, the crowd. So I'm glad that shows are coming back, because these last 2 years, as the years that I went to no concerts, it really sucked, because concerts, to me, you go and, like, if you're having like a bad day or a bad week, you go to a concert and you just for 2 hours forget about all that shit and just enjoy the music. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I wasn't playing for a while, but I got sober and again, and just a few years, and I just needed to take a mental health break from playing, because I would kind of getting a little nihilistic again, and I would be like bashing myself, getting a little crazy. But then now that was 4 or 5 years ago now, and I'm like, played some shows in between here and then since, but it's like would love to get back into it. And then, like you said, to I remember after the pandemic, no, well, I mean, we're still in it, but after the peak of before things were opening back up, I was able to see some shows again. I saw my friend's band Dead Unicorn, and then in a small thing, and then I saw King Woman at Vitus, and then L7. I saw you just did a piece on your site about the 30th anniversary. I got to see that tour, which was awesome, because I love L7, one of my favorite grunge bands about '90s, and just the important symbolic, just in great songwriting. So it was so awesome to see them live right before it was funny because they're from out here, but I saw them in New York. So it was kind of a neat thing to see them before I
Mhm.
came out here to move. So it was like, oh, okay, handshake, bye bye bye. You know, but
Yeah,
like you
no,
said,
yeah.
feeling that crowd lift was awesome.
Yeah, there's not a better feeling than that. So uh for the people who are watching this, what would you say to them about the walking bumps to get them into it? Like, how would you, like, explain walking bumps, like, in a minute?
Walking Bombs basically is a project that examines mental health and tries to transform it into being proud of yourself to carry on, because we all have things that make our day harder, and communication breakdowns or people dragging you, but it's kind of a way to say, you know what, I'm going to be the bomb. And that was my first tattoo many
Nice.
years ago. But yeah, it's a lot of different styles, so hopefully there'll be one song might be grindcore, and the next might be want to be Depeche Mode song. But yeah, but hopefully, there's something somebody can enjoy on every album, or at least have a sense of the creative restlessness might spark their own imagination or make them want to hear more.
Yeah, and the good thing is that it's about, you touch on mental health, and there's just so much, like, metal or rock bands that are all about, like, being like macho, or like the the drinking. So it's good to have something that is more based on issue that is very important, and especially in this country, a lot of mental health issues that plague everyone. So that's important to shed a light on it. And I know that right now people can get it on Bandcamp and digitally, but are you planning on releasing it physically sometime next year?
Um, Physical is expensive, man. I if it wasn't just me, I would love to. I did some merch for some of my releases that were with Nefarious Industries, like the Grid Failure, Walking Bombs album. We did that on CD. Right now, I've just got stuff on streaming, mostly. But I don't know what will happen in the future. It'd be great to do a cassette or something, especially with the 30 years. But I definitely do have a lot of good material coming out, so we'll see about the physical. I gotta get a new
Nice.
job out here.
Yeah, best of luck with that. But yeah, I'll put the link so people can go stream it. And if they choose to buy it digitally, they choose to buy it to support you. So
Appreciate that.
Morgan, it was great taking some time of your day to talk with me about the Walking Bumps. So people, the Walking Bumps, the EP is out, and they have more music coming out next year. But for now, you can stream Broken Provinces. It's out everywhere. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield on the Couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you and good night.